you like it or not, the external is something you need to talk about. It is not okay for you to just do the work and hope it all works out. Life does not work like that. We worked with a district, small rural district, and they were doing amazing project-based learning work in the very early days. Amazing work. Kids were doing really cool stuff. They were creating and implementing, but there were some folks that didn't really like the term project-based learning at the time. And they got to the school board, and all the really great work that was happening was suddenly shut down. That doesn't seem like a great story to share on PBL Simplified. You know what happened though? We reopened the work and called it service learning. And this time we were very public with the work. We showed everybody exactly what we were doing, why we were doing it. We called it service learning. Still going strong today. Doing a lot of the exact same things, but under a different name. What's the difference? Well, marketing and telling your story to your community is a must to do. It is not a nice to have. You have to do this work. Again, as people that are working hard, sometimes you are working at 4 in the morning and nobody else is up. You're doing the hard work because you know it's going to matter. But sometimes you do need to talk about the good work. Even if you're a humble servant leader, which you are, that's why you're in these videos right now, but you still need to get out there and brag on your people and brag on your kids. The external story does matter. Welcome to PBL Simplified for Teachers, where we take your vision off the paper and bring it into your school. I'm going to distill leadership ideas from education, business, and sports so we can up your leadership game and you can be the leader your school needs you to be. Somebody's going to be telling your story and you need to be a part of the creation of that story. Somebody's going to tell your story whether you do or not. I'm very certain that's happened to you already, whether it was on social media, in the newspaper, whatever it looks like, somebody's talking about your school. Especially if you're in a rural, suburban setting where there's nothing else to talk about. You've got Friday Night Lights, and then you've got what happens at school. So why not help author that story? Start to give people examples. I'm going to give you 3 ways that you can give people examples to talk about the great things happening at your school. The first way to give someone examples is through a community partner breakfast. One of my favorite moves of all time. You invite in community partners, industry leaders, leaders within your community to show them the great things that you're doing. I really like Friday morning. The professionals are getting ready to go to work. You do it about 9 a.m. They say, hey boss, I'm going to be a little bit late. I'm going to go do this thing with the school. Is that okay? Of course it's okay. We want to give back to the community. People want to give back to the community. Give them a great way to do it. They come in for an hour and a half. You give them something to snack on, and then you bring in your learners. Here's the work that we've been doing, right? Like we're in doctors' offices creating work. We're solving these real world problems. We're contributing to solutions in hunger scarcity, right? Show the work that's happening. Show the problem solving, the critical thinking, the collaboration that's happening amongst 3rd graders, amongst juniors, the stuff that nobody really thinks is happening in schools anymore. You're doing it. So now show people. And then when those industry leaders go back to their work, somebody says, well, what'd you do this morning? Give them 1, 2, or 3 stories. Just think about one. Let that be your driving question. How can we give one story to our community partners so that they can go and tell that story? Give that story a name. Give that story an authentic problem they've solved, and let it be inspirational. Now, when they talk about your school district, that's the story that they're going to tell. You might even leave some room at the end of that community partner breakfast for people to reflect. What was the greatest thing that you heard this morning? Let them practice, right? You don't have to tell them that that's exactly what you're doing, but you want them to do that. These are the people that are telling the story of your school district. You need to give them examples. Another way to give people examples of the great things happening in your school is to get in the paper. Like get in the local paper. Local newspapers are looking for stories. They need stories. They're coming up with stories. Why not feed them some stories? Give your teachers $50 to write a blog that goes into the newspaper, or make that part of your work. Set aside some deep work time. On Friday morning from 9 to 10, you write an article that goes to the newspaper. Here's what's happening in our schools. Get it printed. Right? Don't wait for someone to come in and tell your story. Number one, they might not ever do it. And then you're just sitting there saying, we're doing amazing things. How come nobody's looking? Make them look, right? Bring in the reporter to bring in the reporter to your school. You know who it is that writes the stories in your newspaper. Bring them in, show them the work you're doing. Have them come into an expo, right? Get in the newspaper on your terms. Don't be in the newspaper on someone else's terms. You know what that's like. It's not positive. So get on the proactive end of that. The third example of how to get people telling your story is to invite other schools to see the work you're doing. You might go to a tour of a school that's doing great project-based learning. Why not just ask them, hey, would you guys come to our school and tell us what you see? What are the things that you like? What are some things that you wonder? You're going to get great feedback. You're also going to get to acknowledge the great things that are happening. It's good for your school, but now you've got someone externally coming in to validate your work. That's exactly what you want to happen. Yes, you need internal capacity to be built, but you also need external stories to be told. It starts to create the irreversible culture. Parents start to tell people at the soccer field, this is what our school is like. They travel a couple schools away for the conference meet, and then when they're talking to those parents they see all the time, here's what our school's like. Wow, that's really neat. My kids aren't doing that. And now others are helping you define your culture, which is okay because you're at the front of that, right? You're helping to feed that with really great stories and really great work. Don't let it happen on its own. Let it happen purposefully. So as you look at building your external stories, give people examples of the great work. Bring in a community partner breakfast. Get in the newspaper on your terms. And then invite other schools to come in to give you feedback and to start sharing more of those stories. As you do that, you'll start to build your culture of excellence. Why are people coming to see the work they're doing? Because you invited them, but publicly you tell your teachers, like, we must be doing really cool things. Your students start to ask, why are they coming in? Well, I just noticed that the third grade class was in the paper. That's right, we're doing really cool things. And everybody starts to learn this mantra and culture that you're doing really cool things. Project-based learning is working. You're building employability skills in all of your learners. And you're going to continue because that's our vision. That's what we're doing. And people get on board. It's not you pulling people. It's you helping people up the mountain because they want to go up the mountain. That's when leadership starts to get really exciting. Stick with me on these leadership videos because that's what we continue to talk about is how you lead and lead well and lead on purpose to bring your vision into your school. As you do that, you'll engage your learners, you'll tackle boredom, and you'll transform your classrooms. Go lead inspired.